The Steet Ponte Auto Group in Yorkville and Herkimer and Turnbull Insurance Service since 1866 present Mohawk Valley Living, exploring the arts, culture, and heritage of our region. A special shout out to the Hudson Highlands Retreads, the biker fans in Oneonta.
Good morning and welcome to Mohawk Valley Living. Today we're returning to the Butternut Valley. We're going to be going to Morris and to Gilbertsville. We're going to be meeting some Jacobs sheep. This is one of them right here. The males are known to grow as many as 5 or 6 horns. And then there are the females like this one who is Little Lady. So stay tuned as we explore the Butternut Valley. Huh, yes.
Motor is a light and a sign like convertible top saying the chicks don't mind. Cruising with me, rocking all around town for joy. Where we're moving on out, boozing and cruising along.
Special thanks to the team at Steet Ponte Chevrolet in Herkimer for keeping Mohawk Valley Living on the road. Part of the owner-operated Steet Ponte Auto Group dealerships, serving Utica and the Valley.
Moving on out, boozing and cruising along. Is a light and a sign, convertible top and the chicks don't mind. Cruising with me, rocking all around town for joy.
Pick up the January issue of Mohawk Valley Living magazine, featuring Bird's Nest of Winter by naturalist Matt Perry, Tucci Hot Rods in Marcy, a guide to winter farmers markets, and fun local area history. All in this month's issue of Mohawk Valley Living magazine. Available now at our sponsors, your local Steet Ponte dealership and Stewart shops. The Steet Ponte Auto Group is proud to bring Mohawk Valley Living to you each week, serving the Utica area and the Valley with outstanding customer service. In Yorkville at Steet Ponte Ford Lincoln Mazda, Steet Ponte Volkswagen, and Steet Toyota Scion. And in Herkimer at Steet Ponte Chevrolet. Stop in and see why it's so easy to do business with Steet Ponte. You go the extra mile for your small business and should expect the same from your insurance company. For over 140 years, Turnbull Insurance Service has been committed to local small business. For your commercial coverage, turn to the company ready to go that extra mile. Turn to Turnbull. Shop N.J. Flehan & Company during the January Cutlery Clearance Sale. Save 40% off all cutlery at N.J. Flehan, 703 Bleecker Street in Utica.
The people you know, the rock you love, and more songs per hour. 92.7 FM, The Drive, Central New York's locally owned independent rock station.
Melrose Supermarket is your family hometown market, known for their choice hand-cut meats, homemade breads, and fresh pastas and salads. Check out the weekly specials at Melrose Supermarket, East Main Street in Frankfort. The Newport Marketplace is a new kind of Main Street with over 40 vendors of antiques, primitives, and country chic, and handcrafted art, jewelry, and Amish baskets. New items arriving daily at the Newport Marketplace on Route 28, just 20 minutes from Utica, Little Falls, and the Valley.
Hi, Dr. Tom. Bringing your cat to the Paris Hill Cat Hospital on Sundays is a part of Mohawk Valley Living. Come inside and see why.
Paris Hill Cat Hospital, this is Lindsay. How can I help you? Hello, Mrs. Cole. Your cat is losing weight and you need an appointment? And you're only available on weekends. Sure, I have an available appointment with Dr. Karen Sunday at 2 p.m. Does that fit into your schedule? Okay.
We're open 7 days a week because we know that your cat can become ill anytime. The Paris Hill Cat Hospital, quality care for your cats and kittens.
This week, we're drawn back to the Butternut Valley. There's something about the communities that blossomed in this fertile vale that beckons us to explore more. The village of Morris, like many other communities in Otsego County, has a rich history of agriculture.
Long before the village of Morris was even a village, the first fair and cattle show was held here in 1835. Today, 175 years later, the Otsego County Fair is still held here.
I wish you were here. You are alone for many a hard year. No shadow of a man will ever keep me from doing what I can. If I have a daughter, I want to bless her.
Morris may be a small town, but you don't have to leave town to find everything that you need because right here at the family market, the Morris Family Market, is an old-fashioned supermarket. As a matter of fact, I overheard a conversation between the owner and one of their customers, and he was saying to her that last week during the bad weather, he would have gladly taken her groceries to her house so she wouldn't be without them.
Waking up at dawn's early light, hear the rooster crow out low. Baling hay when the chores are done, drive to town to see a show. Riding back in the dead of night, hear the crickets sing their song.
Down through the years in our travels, we have come across several Linn tractors, and the people who own them have this, I don't know, this excitement about being the owner of a Linn tractor. As it turns out, the Linn tractor was developed right here in Morris, New York by H.H. Linn. And how did he happen to come to Morris, New York? He had a dog and pony show that he was coming through with. He stayed here and started to experiment with his dream machine, and it later became the very famous, world famous Linn tractor. If you want to see one up close, there's one on display here in Morris, right in the middle of town on Main Street, next to the firehouse. They even built this little museum to keep it from the elements and to keep it in good shape.
Everyone knows when the Otsego County Fair arrives in Morris, when all the bright tents seem to magically appear at the fairgrounds. The tents for the fair and many other events throughout the region are made right here in Morris at Morris Tent Rentals.
When Mr. Linn brought his dog and pony show here to Morris back in the early 1900s, he would perform under the canvas. Were he to come here today, he'd be performing under the vinyl. Vinyl is the modern material used here at Morris Tent Rentals. Here they produce tents of many shapes, sizes, and colors, and you can find them at county fairs throughout New York State. Had you attended Cal Ripken's induction ceremony in Cooperstown at the Hall of Fame, his tent came from here as well.
It starts out by we get the material off the roll. We should get it shipped on the roll. It gets measured out. We have a pattern that we go by to cut out our pieces. From here, it goes upstairs where we have heat sealers that weld the pieces together, pretty much. And then once all your pieces are welded according to that pattern, it then goes to the sewing machine, which I run a scallop valance around the perimeter of the whole tent. And then from there, it goes to another machine where it then gets hardware put on it, your D-rings, your rings, what have you, grommets, ropes, stuff like that that you'll need for setup. And then make a bag for it, gets a label, a certificate, fire retardant label put on it, and it gets shipped right out.
Morris Tent Rentals makes and rents tents for any occasion. To see the many designs produced right here in Morris, visit morristentrentals.com.
Can see traveling round the Mohawk Valley. Let's see what we can see.
While we were visiting Morris Tent Rentals, we were reminded of the happiness that goes along with a wedding. Well, there's also a story that is connected here to Morris, which is not quite so happy, because in the early 1800s, the Cooper families and the Morris families were going to be united in marriage. Hannah Cooper, the sister of James Fenimore Cooper, was on her way to visit her betrothed, was coming right along this road. Her horse bolted, and she was thrown to the ground and died. Two communities were steeped in sorrow, and within 1 year, they erected this monument to commemorate what happened. And I read something here that I've never heard before. When they referred to her being thrown to the ground, and in an instant, quote, "the black camel of death kneeled at her door."
James Fenimore Cooper deeply mourned his sister's death, and many believe that some of the female characters he later created were inspired by her. He wrote of innocent women exposed to deadly dangers, but used his power as a writer to spare them. Get your sled out on the trails. Call Turnbull Insurance and have a snow adventure tomorrow with complete snowmobile insurance protecting you and your sled. Call 735-9201 and get out on the trails. Watch Mohawk Valley Living every Sunday on Fox 33 and UTR. And pick up the free Mohawk Valley Living magazine the first of each month. Available at many locations like these throughout the Mohawk Valley and at your closest Stewart shops. Make any day a special day and a special day even better with fresh baked pastries and cookies from Cafe Caruso on Bleecker Street in East Utica. Stop in or call ahead for special orders. Visit Brenda's Natural Foods in their brand new, bigger location, right down the street at 236 West Dominic Street in Rome. Brenda's Natural Foods, something good and a lot of it. It's the New Year's clearance sale at the Village Crossing. Save 30% off turtlenecks, coats, jackets, and clothes that sparkle. Winter shoes and boots are marked down, and save an additional 40% off clearance items during the New Year's clearance sale going on now at the Village Crossing in Clinton.
Hi, welcome to the Little Falls Antique Center in the shops at 25 West. We have 2 full floors with 50 vendors of interesting and unique products ranging from specialized to very eclectic, primitive to the not so primitive. Remember, shop local, we're worth the trip.
Shop Shelter for handmade Adirondack furniture designed by craftsman Jim Kiefer. He works with you to create custom pieces to your specifications, from dining room and coffee tables to bookcases, beds, and bunks. Call or visit Shelter on Main Street in Old Forge. Store co-owners Linda and Joe McHarris invite you to shop the talented local artists at the Artisans Corner. You'll discover one-of-a-kind handcrafted pottery, clothing, candles, jewelry, and original artwork, handmade from the heart of Central New York at the Artisans Corner in Clinton. Expecting company? Just call Deansboro Superette. They prepare delicious Middle Eastern platters for any number of guests. Call 841-4377. Feel the need for beads? Fall Hill Bead and Gem is a kaleidoscope of glass, crystal, stone, and wood beads, minerals, gems, and Herkimer diamonds. Design personal jewelry for your friends and family on West Main Street in Little Falls across from Paca Gardens. We travel past Hannah's Monument and continue south along Highway 51 to the village of Gilbertsville. It is one of very few villages in the country recognized in its entirety as an historic district. We meet the local historian in the village library, built of stone as a schoolhouse in 1818.
The people who first came here settled right after the Fort Stanwix Treaty of 1768 opened up this part of New York State, and it was officially the western frontier from here to the Unadilla River, which is our western boundary. What attracted them to this area was that it was beautiful farmland, and actually there was it was pretty heavily wooded. Well, they were very much attracted by the economic development possibilities here, and they came here from mostly the first settlers who got over here came from New England, and then they were rapidly followed by people from England directly and from France in this part of Otsego County. But the main focus of the whole development and movement here was the economic opportunities that were provided.
The entire village of Gilbertsville was almost lost to a U.S. flood control project that threatened to flood the valley, creating a lake. When the village was awarded recognition as a historic district, it was, at long last, spared destruction. Gilbertsville was only the second such village in the country to receive the distinction.
Come here to the post office and you'll find that the post office boxes are the original ones from the 1800s, and you have to operate them by knowing your combination, and then you can get your stamps here at this neat little window. Do you have any of those sailor stamps that came out recently? Oh, there they are. Thank you.
There's the fruit of my labor when I get bored. Tell me that it's mightier than the sword. It's sweet and subtle as a song of the wren. Well, if a drunk man's words are a sober man's mind, it's all the same to her unless it's written on that line. Everything fades away without my pen.
One of the buildings that would have been lost to the dam project is the Major's Inn. This crown jewel of the community was built by Major James T. Gilbert on the site of the original Gilbert family homestead.
It's a Tudor-style building. It has approximately 52 rooms. It was built in 1897 as a home, and then it mushroomed into a hotel, and now it's a restoration site that we use for rental. The plans for the future, I'm hoping within the next year, maybe year and a half, having the second floor completely done so we can use it as a rental for weddings so they can stay over, and maybe a small B&B. No one owns it outright. It's owned by a foundation, but no one outright. It's like a community type owned building.
If you need an excuse to come to Gilbertsville, actually you don't need an excuse, but if you do, come here in the spring, because the Morris men, and by the way, the Morris men are not from Morris, it's named after the Morris dance. They come here in the spring and they do the Morris dance, which is a rite of spring, and it certainly is a darn good excuse to come down here.
The Steet Ponte Auto Group is proud to bring Mohawk Valley Living to you each week, serving the Utica area and the Valley with outstanding customer service. In Yorkville at Steet Ponte Ford Lincoln Mazda, Steet Ponte Volkswagen, and Steet Toyota Scion. And in Herkimer at Steet Ponte Chevrolet. Stop in and see why it's so easy to do business with Steet Ponte. Do something about your chronic pain. InterX Therapy can be the answer to your post-surgical or sports injury rehabilitation or chronic neuropathic pain. Call Dr. Michael Tucherone at 853-6225 for non-invasive InterX Therapy. It's the New Year's clearance sale at the Village Crossing. Save 30% off turtlenecks, coats, jackets, and clothes that sparkle. Winter shoes and boots are marked down, and save an additional 40% off clearance items during the New Year's clearance sale going on now at the Village Crossing in Clinton. That special art, photograph, or memorabilia deserves a special frame. Oscars creates one-of-a-kind gold and silver leaf mirrors and frames. Oscars Picture Framing, 12 Kellogg Road, New Hartford. Escape the cold winter days in the tropics at the Pop Butterfly Conservatory. Your winter doldrums will be swept away by free-flying tropical birds, butterflies, plants, and frogs. An unforgettable adventure for all ages. Open all winter long, Thursday through Sunday, noon to 4, on Route 7 in Oneonta. Tom's Natural Foods is your connection to local farms for natural and organic fruits and vegetables, meats, eggs, cheeses, and other milk products. At Tom's Natural Foods in Clinton, naturally. Alpaca Gardens has the largest selection of the finest alpaca clothing and products in central New York. Alpaca is warmer than wool, softer than cashmere, and hypoallergenic. Choose from many styles of sweaters and all kinds of warm, comfortable socks. There's also a huge selection of alpaca yarn, roving, and felt, and is the perfect holiday shopping store for hats, mittens, rugs, ponchos, stuffed animals, handbags, and much more. Open 7 days a week for the holidays at 27 West Main Street in Little Falls. Get your tickets to the thrilling Doug Verone and Dancers, performers the New York Times says are always worth seeing. On stage Saturday, January 25th at Welland Hall Schambach Center for Music and the Performing Arts at Hamilton College in Clinton. Tickets available at the box office or call 859-4331.
I ran into Bootsy with bad stuff in my tent. Couldn't win, the man's just not so. Said, son, give me, I was once young and free, but my troubles got me to this mess.
At one time, the famous hotel, the Stag's Head Inn, was located here. It was lost to fire in 1895. Now there is a park here and a fountain. It's called the Overlook Park, and that's very aptly named because you get a very nice view of the village from here.
You walk out the door, but I'll do anything for you. Yes, I do anything for you. If you ask me to swim the 7 seas or fight a crocodile, I'll pull on my swimming trunks.
Many travelers, when passing through Gilbertsville, are beckoned to stop and visit, and a few decide to stay. Artists like Harvey Mark, who moved his furniture shop from New York City to set up shop in rural America. He found the perfect space in the old Gilbertsville School's cafeteria. And quilt maker Suzanne Beto, whose studio is upstairs with other artist studios in the Tudor-style Gilbert building.
I know life is never easy, I've always had it rough. Good things come those who wait, but it's never been good enough. Since you came into my life, you fill my heart with love. Now you want...
Right here in the heart of Gilbertsville, we stopped into a little country store, the Value Country Store, thinking that it would be just a store. Well, actually there's a little diner in the back where you can have lunch or breakfast, and it's sort of, I can find no other way to describe it except to say it was like being dropped somewhere in the middle of Europe. The flavor here is so European. You could almost say it's like a tourist destination, except it's not touristy at all because the people here are genuine, they're friendly, and the feeling is that of history. The overstuffed sandwiches were just out of this world, delicious. And don't leave here without trying their German potato salad. It is made fresh on the premises by the owner, John, and you're going to feel like you're in Germany eating this potato salad. It's incredible.
Inspiring Monday, where the three rivers meet. And I swear that girl put a spell on me. We never laughed so long, me, Steve, and Big Daddy Lee.
Someone else who was drawn to the beauty of the Butternut Valley is Alan Skolnick. He is one of the founders of Solgar, the nutritional supplement company founded in 1947. He and his wife now spend the majority of the year here at their South Wind Farms. The farm is overseen by caretakers Kevin and Laura Burnside.
Mr. Skolnick purchased the farm in 1977. At that time he had a few standard bred horses, which are also known as trotters, and wanted a place that he could come up to relax from his business and be with his horses. My husband and I have managed the farm since 1988, and we've worked here since '81, and we basically oversee everything. We oversee the feeding, care, health of all the animals. Yes, we've got Highland cattle, Jacob sheep, golden Guernsey goats, llamas, a donkey, swans, peacocks, pheasants, pygmy goats, fainting goats, boar goats, a little bit of everything. The Goldens and the Jacobs are rare breeds, and so part of it is conservation. But with the Jacobs, we're able to sell all over the country, and they actually pay for themselves. The Golden Guernseys are rare worldwide. I believe there's only about 500 worldwide, and we're the only breeder of purebreds in the United States. We sell males to other people across the country who are crossbreeding Goldens. We do a lot of tours with Head Start and nursery schools. Anybody that contacts us, we're pretty laid back and easygoing.
Southwind Farms is proud of its facilities and animals and welcomes you to visit. You can learn more at southwindfarms.org.
To see what we can see.
This is Main Street, Whitesboro. Before we start our journey, we start our day like many in Whitesboro, with coffee and baked goods at Star Bakery.
Anybody who is familiar with Star Bakery over in East Utica would know about the Marshall family. They have been bringing sweet foods for your sweet tooth for many, many decades. The people of Whitesboro are lucky enough to have an outlet right here on Main Street. If you want to sweeten up your sweetheart for Valentine's Day, this is the place to come. There are dozens of things to choose from, and there are Valentine half moons, there are heart-shaped sugar cookies, and there are unbelievably delicious Mary Ann's.
Oh, well, when I was in college, I started working weekends, and then I did a favor to my husband now to go out with him and his cousin with the other girl that worked at the bakery 35 years ago. And here I am today.
So you married into it?
I married into it, yep. My father-in-law has been in baking. He used to bake in New York City. And then he came to the New York bakery that used to be on Oriskany Boulevard. And then he had an opportunity to buy the Star Bakery, and he talked to his sons, and they decided, yeah, that would be a good venture, so they did it. And my husband worked very hard, all of them did. And my brother-in-law, he was in high school when they got it, and he used to fry the donuts before he went to school in the morning. And then after he graduated right into full-time.
So what do you do as part of the bakery?
I'm sales clerk, and I do paperwork, payroll, year-end books. I hire and train the girls, and help out wherever I can. I can make cakes. I've done a little bit of everything. I have a lot of good customers, very friendly, and I just enjoy it. You know, it keeps me going. Sometimes I don't want to. You just keep going.
Right next door is the popular Mike's Whitesboro Fish Market, open Wednesday and Thursday 3 to 6, with lines out the door on Fridays from 9 to 7. We head across Main Street to the historic First Presbyterian Church. This congregation and church was built and grew during the tumultuous anti-slavery movement in New York State.
The church itself first started in 1801 as a church meeting house and a little white wood building. That's what you would have seen on Main Street, which they called the Road to Rome. 1834, they build a slightly bigger church, same site. So the people back then would have been familiar with this site of the church. And so that was a red brick building. And like many of the churches, it had galleries all around it for the slaves or colored people. The organ went in. The organ was made in Utica. And then in the early 1900s, they painted the red brick white, and that's the church you see today. In 1979, like many of the churches, they had a fire. Every church seems to have that in their history. It's very near and dear to all the people in a congregation, and this church, as you see it now, just collapsed, just filled with rubble. But fortunately, the exterior walls are those 1834 walls that they preserved. A good landmark story, of course, at that time people said, the church is now rubble. Should we leave the old thing there or be modern and progressive? Fortunately, they kept the 1834 walls. And that 1834 time was the glory days of this church with the abolitionists. So we have a structure that reflects a significant past.
Many of the members of this church were faculty and students of the Oneida Institute here on Main Street. The Institute was America's first biracial academy. The Institute's graduates included such well-known black abolitionists as Jermaine Logan, Alexander Crummell, and Henry Highland Garnett.
Right next to the church is the former home of Benjamin Babbitt. Now, Benjamin Babbitt was known for his soap making, and to many of you out there, as I remember it, my mother for many, many years used Babbo to clean up the counters around the kitchen. That was made world famous by Benjamin Babbitt right here in Whitesboro, New York.